There are just 33 days to go before the country goes over the so-called Fiscal Cliff. And the White House is making the case for President Barack Obama's plan by pointing to positive news on the jobs and housing fronts.
But Republicans aren't quite ready to make a deal yet. Senior political reporter Scott Thuman has been following the negotiations today. Scott, this day included a lunch with the president and Mitt Romney.
Well, plenty to talk about today. Let's start with that lunch. This is the first time the two men have spoken since the election. They did so in the private dining room just off the Oval Office. No staff, no reporters allowed inside. As a matter of fact, for most of the time, they were the only two men in the room.
As quietly as Mitt Romney arrived at the White House for a private lunch, he also left with no comment. This official White House photo, the only glimpse inside.
Is the president offering Governor Romney a job?
There was not an agenda that involves that kind of proposal that I'm aware of. I think that he's very interested in some of Governor Romney's ideas.
The two did talk about leadership and quite possibly fiscal responsibility, the all-consuming issue in Washington, as earlier today the vice president spoke of during a shopping trip to Costco.
I think it's important that Congress acts now. I mean, right now.
There was action, or at least meetings. Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner went to Capitol Hill to negotiate with top Republicans. But there still, it seems, was confusion over how the two sides could possibly come to terms.
It's very clear what kind of spending cuts need to occur, but we have no idea what the White House is willing to do.
That also on the heels of a 28-minute phone conversation between Speaker Boehner and the president last night, described as frank, direct, and good, but apparently not enough to clear the air, a notion the White House rebuked.
This should not be news to anyone on Capitol Hill. It is certainly not news to anyone in America who was not in a coma during the campaign season.
Now, back to Mitt Romney's visit here today. Kind of an odd moment as he was arriving in his SUV. A man ran up to the window and started yelling at him. Actually had to be pushed away by Secret Service, who say he became combative with them. They later arrested him for assault on a police officer and unlawful entrance. Still trying to find out more about that. On a lighter note today, the question I was most asked all day long was, what did the two men eat? The president and Mitt Romney today dining on white turkey chili and Southwestern grilled chicken salad, just in case you needed to know. Live outside the White House tonight, Scott Thuman, ABC 7 News.
Thanks, Scott.